Good evening, everyone. Severe Weather Team 9 meteorologist Nathan Chen with your weather update here. We are tracking a breezy wind coming to an end tonight. Our temperature is only dropping just into the 30s. So while cold, not nearly as cold as some of those mornings we had last week. In fact, really, these low temperatures tonight, much warmer than even our high temperatures for a lot of last week. And of course, that's the big story here early on, right? Just how much warmer it is here for the first half of this week and in general this week as well. So we're going to break down these temperatures, and during these mild temperatures here, especially for the first half of this week, we're going to be tracking some rain coming our way, the first round even arriving for tomorrow morning. So we're going to dive into the temperatures and the precipitation here primarily for your weather updates. So without further ado, thanks for joining. Let's jump into things, shall we? Our current temperatures right now across the area are starting to fall into the 40s. You see that tower cam in Weirton still shaking, right? There's evidence there's still that breeze in place this evening, but winds will further diminish as we go through the night. And a lighter wind in place tomorrow. It'll be closer to about 5 to 10 miles per hour. Our wind speeds likely looking ahead into the daytime tomorrow. And our high temperatures today coming off highs around the mid-50s, certainly a far cry from last week, right? There's a look at our temperature trend, even over the last couple of weeks, that today was the warmest day that we've had over the last couple of weeks. We have to go back early this month before we saw those highs reach to the extent of today. We weren't far from it on the 13th, but the early high was only around 50 degrees. And again, today, that high temperature even climbing into the mid-50s. And to be exact, what we have to go back to was February 4th. That's when we had a high of 58 degrees at the High County Airport. The last time we had a high of 55 plus registered at the airport. On the 3rd, we were even into the 60s. So those were our two warmest days right at the beginning of the month. This is our fourth 50 plus high so far for this month. And I think we got a good chance to add a couple more to it. But that being said, that would still mark the lowest since 2021 in terms of the amount of 50 plus highs in February. This is a far cry from what we had the last couple of years. You guys remember the last two Februaries we had? Well, it went from 13 50 plus days. That's how many we had in last year, 2024. 2023, how about 20? How about 20 days, 50 plus highs? So it has been quite mild over the last couple of Februaries. And this year, certainly the exception, especially coming off of that cold stretch that we had in the last week. Just interesting to think how warm the last two Februaries have been. Overall, the last two winters, right? And just breaking that for this winter overall, and certainly for the month of February as well. So we're likely going down with the lowest amount of 50 plus highs in the month, at least since 2021. Nothing, record shattering, but certainly been some time since we've seen this cold of February, at least a lack of this many mild days into February. Now, while we only have 4, again, I think we can add 2 more, and while the total can even add up to 6 before we wrap up this month, that still would mark the lowest. We have to go back to 2021 still, even despite only having 3 that year. We other years at least had 9 plus dating back since 2021. So our high temperatures the next 10 days. It's a little cooler tomorrow, but we're still likely topping off around 50, right back then near values we have for today for your Wednesday, and then temperatures will start to drop off a bit from there. It's rather chilly Thursday, Friday to Saturday. Our cold day, which is likely the coldest day over the next 10 days, arrives on Sunday. That's when high temperatures will be in the mid-30s. We have one cold day Sunday. It's chilly outside of that. And yes, we even have a handful here of mild days, not only for the next 2 days, but again, likely around next Tuesday and Wednesday. It looks quite mild again. So there's a look at the temperatures. And with this, again, we will be tracking some rain. So let's jump into our futurecast, and we're going to map out the rain, which you can see looking at radar right now. We're not tracking anything here near term, but we fast forward later tonight, and this is when we're going to be watching that rain developing. So there's midnight. We're still likely dry, even around midnight tonight. This is after midnight, and you really could even consider this more early tomorrow morning. So there's about 3 a.m. So we get closer to 3 a.m., and then especially after about 3 a.m., this is when we're seeing that rain develop. It is going to be more likely of a light rain that we are seeing we're early tomorrow morning. I was say is waking up, but it depends when you're waking up tomorrow morning. But right around that early morning hours of getting closer to 5 and then continuing up to about 8 o'clock, that early morning tomorrow, this is when we're likely dealing with more of that light rain. So it does likely carry over into the morning commute, but you'll notice how quickly it likely leaves then even shortly after that. So I'll take this even slower. So you'll notice that even late morning, notice a lot of that rain then positioning itself east out of our area. So we will likely have just a pretty narrow window of time for this light rain tomorrow. And from there, we don't necessarily dry up, but it is drier for the remainder of the day. We can have some lingering showers, especially going into the afternoon and evening. But just note this difference, right? That we have more of that widespread light rain right at the beginning of the day. And then really for most of the day Tuesday, it's still fairly dry. It's not a real wet day. And we see the bulk of that light rainfall right off the bat in the morning. We could deal with some lingering showers, especially in the afternoon and evening, but certainly not a real wet Tuesday across the area. And what does linger into Tuesday evening tapers off then likely early on Tuesday night, and we are dry going into Wednesday. And we're going to spend most of the day Wednesday dry, but then that second round of rain will arrive likely right at the tail end of the day. So once we get closer towards sunset, this is when I watch for showers moving back in. These will likely carry over then throughout Wednesday night into Thursday. We could deal with some showers then going throughout the day Thursday, and even some carrying over into Thursday night as well. I think there's overall dealing with a little more rain with that second round with respect to that first round. But thankfully, even if you combine both rounds of rain here this week that we have going through Friday, that neither look to bring any flooding concerns. So thankfully, these do not look to be bringing, an excessive amount of rain. So that is good in regards to that potential for flooding, that it looks very low as we go throughout this week. So our rain outlook, which, yes, our precipitation type will remain as rain. We're not tracking any snow going throughout this week. Temperatures remain warm enough that we're going to be tracking rain. The only exception to this is we could see maybe some snow showers Thursday night, but I don't think it's going to be enough to cause any impacts going into Friday. Our temperatures fall just around freezing, just below freezing. So it's not a real cold stretch going into the Friday, but maybe then we spot some snow showers. But the bulk of this precipitation is going to be rain. Better way to put it, that especially during what we see during the daytime is certainly going to remain as rain. So, we got a lot of yellow here, right? But I want to emphasize that, this is more primarily a parts of the day, right? So for tomorrow, again, like we discussed, is primarily real early in the morning. On Wednesday, it's right at the end of the day. On Thursday, it's primarily through the morning hours, but we can see some linger in the afternoon and evening. And then Saturday, it's possible. So, it's a lot of yellow, but in the grand scheme of things, I think a lot of these daytimes ahead this week, it's fairly dry, right? It's not a real soaking wet day. I don't think any of these days where we're dealing with that just rain all day long. I think the wettest day we're going to have here going through the weekend for the daytime hours is probably Thursday. I could see a little more showers lingering in the afternoon with respect to what we're going to see Tuesday. So I think there's going to be one day where we're dealing with those showers on off for more of the daytime hours with respect to others. I think Thursday is probably the wettest day we're going to have here as we go throughout the weekend. But certainly no real big washout day coming our way throughout this weekend. So how much rain could we get? Well, not too much. I think, with even considering both rounds, and even looking from what we're going to see not only tomorrow, but even from that second round from Wednesday evening all the way through Thursday, we're likely talking anywhere from around 1/10 up to probably a 1/2 of an inch. Not much, right? I know, thankfully, certainly not enough to cause any alarms for any flooding coming our way this week. And I think with that first round, where a lot of us are probably just within a trace to even a 1/10 of an inch, maybe up to 1/4 of an inch from what we see arriving tomorrow and then continuing throughout the day. So it looks very light for those rainfall amounts tomorrow, but a little bit more, I think, in terms of rainfall amounts from Wednesday evening through Thursday. But if you add both of these up again, Thankfully, not enough to cause any alarm for any flooding concerns. Thankfully, not tracking anything that looks really impactful coming our way as we do go throughout this week. And the bulk of this precipitation is rain. Again, we discussed that Thursday night into Friday, maybe a couple snow showers. Again, those temperatures, as you can see into Friday morning, they fall just below freezing. I don't really see much of anything impactful there. We'll watch. Maybe at most some slick spots to the Friday morning's commute. From there, we could have a rain shower possible to start off the weekend. Saturday still looks mostly dry throughout the weekend. Again, Sunday's our coldest day. That's when high temperatures will be back into the 30s before another warm up follows into next week. And that's when we can have that following round of some rain showers around the middle of next week. So, really looking at this forecast, especially what we have here near term, thankfully, there's nothing that looks extremely, impactful coming our way. It's more of a nuisance than impactful, I think is a good way to put it with a lot of these rain showers we're seeing this week. Temperatures certainly a bit up and down. It's a little bit of a roller coaster ride here over the next 10 days. And again, the coldest looks to be Sunday. The warmest is likely going to be either this Wednesday, next Wednesday. Those 2 days, our temperatures climb back towards mid, maybe even upper 50s. Those could be some of our warmest days looking ahead here. And right behind that, next Tuesday. So I guess you could really say those 3 days, this Wednesday, next Tuesday, Wednesday, could be the warmest that we have here looking ahead over the next 10 days. Charlie says, thank you for keeping us informed, Nathan. Appreciate it. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in this evening. Sarah says, hi. Nice day in Cameron, West Virginia, 42 now. It was not a bad start to the work week, right? It was certainly nice to see a little warm up, especially with respect to what we had just a week ago. You think back to just a week ago, what we had when we were seeing those low temperatures in the single digits and our highs in the 20s. How about 50s? We more than doubled our temperatures from 1 week to the next. That's not a bad warm up, is it? Here early on this week. And overall, nothing nearly as cold coming our way this week, even over the next 10 days, is what we saw for this past week. So certainly looking to some warmer days as the new month is in sight coming up going into this weekend. We start off that new month and certainly looks to trend not only more seasonable, but even for over a handful of these days, even above normal. So certainly more seasonal to above normal pattern looking ahead here near term, even as we look into that first week of March. It looks like, I will say, last week it was looking like we get a little bit of a cool down there into early March, but this pattern looks to be a little milder now at this point. So I don't think it's going to pan out to where we're getting that cold start to March, as you can see, as you just saw with those temperatures climbing back in the 50s going into the middle of next week. So that's how the long range forecast was looking last week. I don't think it's going to pan out, though. It looks pretty mild there overall to start off the month of March. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in. I appreciate your time. Make sure to stay tuned with the latest tomorrow morning. Chief Meteorologist Jeff Exline. You can catch me right back here coming up News 9 at 10 on Fox 9, News 9, 10 at 11. And of course, join right back in tomorrow evening with the latest weather update. Keep you guys informed on these rounds of rain going throughout the week. Have a good night.